Hurricane Erin continues to get a little bit stronger this morning as it also is growing in size. Here to give you the latest information that we have on this storm. My name is Mitch. Good morning to you all. First thing we'll go over is current conditions with Hurricane Erin. We'll go over the latest from the National Hurricane Center. We'll discuss all model guides in that section of the video. We'll talk about where some of these latest model runs take it. How close do they get it to the eastern seaboard, Atlantic Canada? And then we'll speak on impacts. Of course, everybody wants to know what Erin is going to do. We'll get very detailed on that. A couple other areas of interest we need to watch out here in the Atlantic. We'll speak on that. But a big part of this video will also be speaking on a cold front on the way for a good chunk of the country. I am very excited to talk about that. Who doesn't like a nice cold front in late August? It's going to have everybody feeling like fall is here, but we'll speak on that. We'll talk a little bit on a flooding risk for the Northeast also. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So this is Hurricane Erin spinning away. Looks the part of a mid-grade Category 2 hurricane, and that's exactly what it is, a 100-mile-per-hour Cat 2. It's still popping off intense convection around the center. No cleared out eye. We really wouldn't expect that with a Category 2 hurricane, but cold cloud tops indicated by the blacks and whites. We do have a little bit of dry air still trying to get into this storm, especially in the latest frames here. But I can tell you this storm's structure is really improved, expanding outward a lot better. And we can really see that if we look at this. This is the satellite. The sun is coming up on Hurricane Erin. I wish it was already up because I always love looking at this. It shows the blues of the ocean. It's always a beautiful look. But this really shows you how large this hurricane is. I mean, almost filling up the entire area off the coast of the southeast. I mean, we got clouds now getting all the way up to the Outer Banks, almost just the entire Carolina coastline. We got clouds starting to get all the way to Bermuda over here, and just it looks like you got a lot of disbursement of air on top of the system. Anytime you see these fanning out features here, the clouds like this, that means on top of the storm you have a lot of disbursement of air. We call that divergence aloft. It means the upper wind pattern is pretty good. Now, that doesn't mean that the system isn't dealing with any dry air or wind shear. In fact, you can see a little bit of a dry slot trying to develop around the core of the system, which is right here. But in general, it is in a pretty good upper wind pattern. There's just sections of the storm that continues to struggle, which continues to be sort of the western side of the storm system. But it looks to be improving just due to what we're seeing here. You can see the pushing out of air even on the western side of the storm now, but a very large hurricane, and it does have a shot to intensify again. In fact, the latest from the National Hurricane Center has this at a 100-mile-per-hour hurricane, but it is forecast sometime this afternoon, maybe intensifying to a 105, and then maybe by the time we get into late tonight, 2 a.m., 110-mile-per-hour Category 2 hurricane. If it was to go up another 5 miles per hour, that would make it a major hurricane again. Does this have a shot to become that major Category 3? I think it does. So we will stop the cone here. I do want to mention the cone is not an impact cone. It is where the center of the storm could go. So obviously impacts are going to extend way out away from the cone. This is a great example of it here, right? This is the center of the storm. See how skinny the cone is? So it doesn't mean that we're not getting impacts in all these white areas right here, which is part of the hurricane. So I just want you guys to know that, just reiterate that, probably for the millionth time I've done since covering the tropics. And I mean, just based off the tropical storm warnings and watches, I mean, that tells the story, right? We have tropical storm watches in Bermuda. And the center of the storm is going to pass well to your west, well to your north. But the wind field is so huge. Even outside the clouds that you see in the white, we got gusty winds. So we got tropical storm warnings up for the Outer Banks of North Carolina, even a little bit inland to the Sound. We got tropical storm watches that go all the way up into Virginia Beach, Norfolk, all the way into the Tidewater area, coastal areas of Maryland. Will they extend all the way up to, say, the small coastline here of Delaware, maybe a Jersey Shore? Not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised. So here's the cone all the way out to Atlantic Canada. And nobody in Atlantic Canada is in the cone, but just the same thing I just mentioned for the eastern seaboard and Bermuda. That does not mean you aren't going to see impacts, in these areas, like right into here. You can see strong gusty winds. I mean, even down into here. So it's a 954 millibar storm. It's actually gotten stronger. You see, last night it was 959. It's a 954 The more that millibar drops, the stronger the storm system. So let's move past this. Hopefully I didn't miss anything there. Latest Euro, how close does it get? Well, this is starting off this morning. The millibar is a little off, but not too far, about 6. You don't expect these models to be perfect, but we take it into this afternoon, creeps a little bit closer, and then this evening, this is around 10, 11 o'clock. You see some of the outer bands try to hit the outer banks. Little tongue twister there. So you guys could actually get a little moisture from this, but makes a close pass. It's going to be very strong wind gusts, tropical storm force winds along the outer banks. I mean, even inland where it's not raining. I mean, you don't even need any outer bands to get strong wind gusts from this, guys. But it begins to really hook to the east after this and move on out. But listen, the thing that's wild to me is how close this is trended to the northeast. The trend has really slowed down, ticking to the west, a little bit further south, closer to the outer banks. But this thing really has gotten closer to southern New England. I mean, you go a couple runs back, and this is for Thursday evening, tomorrow evening. You go a couple runs back, I mean, this wasn't even close. So look at this little trend, how it's ticked just a little bit closer to the northeast. Do I think it's going to get close enough to bring outer bands, maybe into southern New England, southeast Mass, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard? Hopefully I said that right. I've been killing it lately with that, but I kind of overthought that a little bit. But I think it's possible, but I think regardless, you're going to get strong wind gusts out here in southeast Mass and all the communities, the island areas right here. I think you're going to get strong wind gusts. So, is it going to be equivalent to one of those nor'easters in the fall or spring or winter? I doubt it, but I would really watch out for this. There's been some ticks closer to you guys. Now, what about Atlantic Canada? Same thing with you folks, especially Nova Scotia. I mean, the core of the system's, I wouldn't say right off the shoreline, but this is for Friday evening. It's not as far away as it was a few model runs ago. And this does look to slip well to the south of the Avalon Peninsula, St. John, southeast Newfoundland. But you guys are still probably going to get some gusty winds from this. But as far as widespread rain, not sure. But there is a front that could come after this that could bring some folks some rain. I know y'all guys need rain up there, and hopefully you get it. But just going to show the Euro, the GFS, is about the same. But I do want to show the HUR model. It's a short-range model, and I know some people will slap my hand saying, don't use the HUR model for the tropics. Well, when we're in really close situations, I think it does an okay job just showing what the radar could look like. And here it is. I mean, this is getting into this afternoon. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see where the hurricane is, right? Here it is, spinning away, very large. Look at the center of that storm. Now, this isn't going to be a cleared out eye or anything like that, but it is wild. It's right there. This is getting into like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. There's like an outer band trying to get into the outer banks right here. But as far as moisture, you're not going to see much of it. It's just going to be strong, gusty winds, a lot of water getting pushed up against the eastern sections of North Carolina, even, probably temporarily into the tidewater. And eventually, the cyclonic flow of the system will probably push some water out. But, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't use the word close, but it's not too far away off the coast of southern New England. And, I mean, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, I mean, some bands are just off the shoreline. But, man, look how large the center of that storm is. And then it's just heading on off. Okay, that's not another hurricane. That's just where it jumped at the beginning of the run. But just a great example of how the wind field is going to just continue to broaden. This is verifying for early this afternoon. The purple areas you see, these are hurricane force winds. The reds, these are strong tropical storm force winds. And once you get into the yellows and greens, this is just tropical storm force wind gusts, or just, consistent winds here. So that's winds over 40 miles per hour, hurricane force winds. That's over 74, 75 miles per hour. So watch how the wind field expands as we start to get into tonight. Those tropical storm force winds and even stronger wind gusts could begin to move into the outer banks. You can see the far western side of the storm system is clipping the outer banks here. And then we continue. The wind field continues to get even larger. Look how it's extending west all the way and getting close to Long Island, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, southeast Mass. I mean, it's close. And I mean, it's close enough to the shoreline of Nova Scotia to bring some strong gusty winds, even with the actual low-level circulation well offshore as we're getting into Friday afternoon. And I think we're going to get some strong gusty winds even out in southeast Newfoundland, Avalon Peninsula. And I would say it's going to be Saturday morning will be your time frame. If I do forget to mention any time frames, folks, just look up here. We got SAT Saturday, for example, because sometimes I get to talking and forget to do that. But forecast wind gusts from the Euro. Still, I mean, nothing's really changed much with this. Some gusty winds, even inland into eastern North Carolina, some 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts are possible. But once you get into the Outer Banks, folks, just a stiff easterly, eventually northeasterly, northerly flow hitting the Outer Banks. 40, 50, 60, 65 mile per hour wind gusts are possible. Huge waves, tidal flooding, storm surge. We're going to get some strong winds up into the Tidewater to Delmarva. But more so, the general thing, the closer you get to the coast, the more stronger the winds. Even Delaware, 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts. Maryland. I mean, even look at the Jersey Shore. I mean, right up against the shoreline, 40, maybe even a 50 mile per hour wind gust is possible. Some strong winds in Long Island. And if you look at the actual forecast from the National Weather Service, I mean, I wouldn't even say they're conservative anymore. They pretty much follow what the Euro is showing. Some strong winds up against the coast. They think the forecast high wind gusts and Cape Hatteras is 50, 55 miles per hour. And look at these strong winds just right along the coastline. So, I mean, you guys are going to feel the impacts from this. It's just going to, blow your house down? Absolutely not. Is it going to throw some lawn chairs around your yard, knock over your trash can, maybe break some loose limbs that might fall on some power lines? I mean, that's absolutely possible. As far as rain impacts in these areas, no. You're probably not going to see anything like that. Let's go out the road. I do want to take a closer look at southern New England. This is an area that a lot of people aren't talking about, and I think it's worth mentioning. But Long Island, some 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts are possible. The further you get out into Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, the stronger wind gusts you're going to see. You stick further out in the ocean, so obviously you're going to see stronger winds. So you get more out in this nasty wind field that Erin is creating. Some 40, 55 mile per hour wind gusts. Same thing in southeast Mass, and we could even get some gusty winds in the Rhode Island, Boston, areas of Connecticut. So we just got to watch out for this. Forecast wind gusts from the National Weather Service with this area. I mean, they're even going for some gusty winds. 30, 45 mile per hour winds possible, but nothing too crazy. But you'll even feel a breeze even getting further inland to southern New England. So some breezy conditions in Boston, New York City, Hartford, Providence, certainly. And then we head on up the road to Atlantic Canada, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland. Right now, the Euro is saying maybe anywhere from a 60 to a 90 kilometer per hour wind gust possible in the Avalon Peninsula. Some strong gusty winds are possible along the southern coastline of Nova Scotia. Maybe a 40 to 55, 60 kilometer per hour wind gust. So some brief tropical storm force wind gusts are possible in some of these areas. So be aware of that. Latest rainfall from the National Hurricane Center. And I wanted to just show you this, just to show you that the bulk of the rain is not going to get into the eastern seaboard. This is not going to be a flooding rain kind of deal like Chantal, for example. So the bulk of the rain will be off the shoreline. But I just want to show you kind of what that looks like, even though it's kind of pointless. But storm surge warning is up for the Outer Banks from the top to the bottom. You don't want to be out there. I'm telling you, I think we're going to see a lot of crazy video. My buddy Bryce and his girlfriend Paige, if you watch live storm chasers, they're becoming an up and coming name. But they're out here, and it's wild to me that water is already starting to get into some of these areas. And that was yesterday. There was already some tidal flooding. So I'm telling you, I'm not trying to freak anybody out. But we are one direct landfall away from the Outer Banks getting wiped out. And we're going to see how much the Outer Banks can handle a huge hurricane just off the coastline with this system. And I have a hunch that we're going to find some things out that is unfortunate. I would not build a house out in the Outer Banks. And don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful area. I've been out there one time in my early 20s, and it was beautiful, beautiful. But it's just a very thin strip of land. I mean, you can. I swear, there's parts of the Outer Banks where you can, Tom Brady could stand on one side and throw a football and it reach the other side. So I mean, there's just some areas of it that's very thin. But anyways, enough of that. I'm ready for football if you don't notice. But moving past this, storm surge, they're still going for around 2 to 4 feet. This really hasn't changed much, but we could even get a little bit of storm surge building up today from south of Myrtle Beach all the way up through Wilmington, all the way to the southern edge of the Outer Banks, all the way to the northern edge, and then a few feet of storm surge is possible into the Tidewater, coastal areas of Maryland, places like that. So there's a couple other areas to watch behind this. See if we got a new update. This is 60% chance tropical wave located right where this orange X is, has a 60% chance to develop in this area. Now look, I think this has a shot to take a name, Fernand, and I think we really need to watch Bermuda with this, but it does look like it's going to recurve. Whatever energy gets going, there's a solid chance it's going to recurve. Weakness still there in the pattern, and really this weakness is generated off a cold front that we're about to speak on here in a second. So there's that, and then there's continues to be this other area behind it. Invest 99L, this has a 30% chance to develop, but this looks very impressive right now, but also it doesn't look like it's going to survive because the environmental conditions don't support development. But this is Invest 99L. This has a 30% chance to develop. You would think, man, this thing's going to do something. And who knows, it might. But most model guys has this completely falling on its face, not developing. And then you got this huge broad area right here. You can hardly tell what's going on. This is easy, right? I mean, it's right there. This is just a whole lot of clutter. But this is actually another wave we are watching. It's firing off some better convection this morning. So we're going to watch to see if any consolidation can get going with this area right here, as it's already gained some latitude, as it probably drifts into this area over the coming days. But these are the two areas we were watching. Am I very concerned about this? Not really. A couple days ago, GFS was dropped several runs in a row of a threatening scenario, but not anymore. It's followed its father, the euro. But this is it right here as we're getting into Friday night. This is our wave. Doesn't look very impressive, but it is an area of lower pressure. We get into the second half of the weekend. We get into Sunday. This does develop into a tropical system. I want to watch some homegrown activity off the coast of the southeast too. We'll speak more on that when we get a little bit closer. But this does develop into an all-out tropical storm. Next name is Fernand, but it looks to be turning north, and we got to watch Bermuda with this, and it actually becomes a hurricane on the latest GFS. I think we need to watch this, because if this does slip underneath the cold front, then we got to watch other people. But this heads on out and actually is a decent in strength hurricane, but it's heading on out. What about, looks like we got some panels mixed up here. What about the latest Euro? What does it show here? This is the wave. Doesn't show much at all. Whatever it does develop, there it is right there. You see the L pop up. It heads on out to sea. Doesn't bother a soul. But I'm telling you, watch some homegrown activity as we get into late this weekend, early next week. Firing off the eastern seaboard. I do want to watch. Now, what about the Euro AI model? Does try to develop something right here, just like the GFS. Sort of a middle ground between the GFS and the Euro in regards to strength. And does try to get this into just about tropical storm status, but it heads on out to sea. Nothing to worry about, right? Hopefully. Don't want to assume. What about the Euro ensemble? Guidance makes up 51 members. You can see a lot of L's clustered up in this area. And, that wasn't right. Here we go. Hey, a closer look. This is between now and, I believe, Sunday evening. Shows some areas, some of these scenarios developing, but a lot of them look to be going out to sea. So we don't want to assume this is, there's two parts of this, right? Is it going to develop? Second part is, where's it going to go? So we got to kind of figure out both of them at the same time, right? Because it's close to us. But the wave behind it shows no signs of development. All right, so going forward, I do want to show you this. Global Tropics Hazards Outlook. We're nearing, it already feels like peak hurricane season with everything ongoing right now with Erin and these other two areas of interest. But I do see a little bit of a break in hurricane season coming up for maybe a couple-week period. Now, the Global Tropics Hazard Outlook says, hey, there's still areas to watch, but not very high-end areas to watch, if that makes sense. So between the 27th and the 2nd of September, it says, hey, we need to watch another tropical wave that could emerge off Africa, so out here in the MDR, Main Development Region. And it thinks that that tropical wave will probably still need to be watched from the 3rd to the 9th of September. And that's why you got two areas in this kind of black, just making up colors, white and red striped area. This means we have a 20% chance of tropical development in these areas. But one thing that's interesting to me is, and this is an area that's been very quiet this hurricane season, is the Gulf and the Caribbean. It's between the 3rd and the 9th. Watch out for tropical development in areas of the Caribbean and the Southern Gulf. Okay, we've been lucky in this area so far. But normally the Gulf really gets going as we get, into September and into October. We know we can get some doozies in October. So we'll continue to watch this. Listen, I'm here to bring you some good news. And I read the comments. I got a couple days deep yesterday. Still need to continue to dive through all the comments. It's wild to me how people are upset about a cold front. Guys, when we say a cold front, I don't mean it's going to get down to 20 degrees in August. There ain't nothing to get upset about. And nobody really was super upset. But let's enjoy a nice late August cold front. And I know you see these blues on your screen. You're thinking, oh my goodness, it's going to get to 30 degrees in Illinois. No, but it's going to be. This is the confidence level of below average temperatures. That doesn't mean that, in the purple color here, you're going to get 30-degree weather. No, this is the confidence of below average temperatures. So basically, look at this blue area, and they're leaning towards below average temperatures. The more blue you get to the point where you're purple, this is where the chances are higher for below average temperatures. And this is the 6 to 10-day outlook, the 25th through the 29th. And trust me, as a fall, winter weather fan, I love to see this, especially this time of year. So confidence is high. We got a big cold front on the way, and it's really going to get going this weekend and then slingshot all the way through a good chunk of the south and eastern U.S. through early next week. Now, this looks to reload, guys. This is the 27th through the 2nd of September. Below average temperatures stick around. Looks like the pattern has some longevity to it. And, it's exciting to me. It's very exciting to look at. And looks like I have some of my panels mixed up here. And if we look at the latest GFS, this is dew points. This is not temperatures, dew points. This is the best way to figure out where a cold front is this time of the year. It's hard to look at temperatures and figure it out unless you've got an extremely strong cold front. The best way to look at it is dew points, the measure of humidity in the air. So dew points in the 60s and 70s, that's humid air. You get into the 50s and lower, that's more dry, crisp air, that fall feel. This one that makes you go up to Starbucks and get a pumpkin spice latte, go up to your attic, pull out all your fall decorations. That's what I'm going to do next week. That's the kind of mood I get in. So as we start Saturday morning, you can see the frontal boundary right here. See the dry air? Watch as this crashes south. Here it comes. This is Monday morning. This is Tuesday morning. Boom. Guys, this cold front somehow makes it all the way down to northern Florida. That is not a forecast. The GFS is very aggressive, but it takes one heck of a cold front in late August to get all the way down into Florida. Florida doesn't normally get cold fronts until about October. This would be insane. But this is very dry air, and normally you see something like this, early mid-September. That's on average what our first kind of false fall cold front is in the south. I'm speaking of the south, is around early mid-September. If you can get it earlier than that, then you're working with gold there, right? So we stop it here. This is Tuesday midday next week. Look at this air mass in place. Dew points in the 40s, 50s. There's just basically no humidity, and this will allow temperatures to be lower. There's cooler air that comes with this, not just a drop in humidity. The thing that's impressive to me is how this sticks around. It reinforces itself. It lasts for what seems like forever, all the way through the turn of the calendar. Eventually, it's going to warm back up again. It's late August, early September. We know summer's not over, really anywhere. But, you look at the Euro AI model too, it just double downs on it. Here comes the cold front. Boom, here it comes. Look at all that dry air just hanging with us. Man, this is nice to see. Now, we'll show you temperatures. What does this mean? We're going to look at the blend of all models, and I'm just going to look at low temperatures. And this is starting off Sunday morning. You can already see temperatures dipping down to the 40s and 50s up here in the upper Midwest. This is Monday morning. Temperatures diving down to the 60s, even some 50s, all the way down to Tennessee, northern Alabama, getting into the Northeast. And then it makes it even further south Tuesday morning. Look at these 50s all the way down into northern Alabama. And then, boom, it starts to crash south. And look at these 50s getting all the way down to the Carolinas. Man, this looks nice, guys. Looks really nice. Look how chilly it looks in the northeast. And I really think this cold front will kickstart the beginning phases of the changing of the leaves. Really up here in more of these favored climate areas like northeast Minnesota. This is an area where the leaves change like the first almost across the entire lower 48. You start to look for areas in the UP and Michigan. Of course, it doesn't mean by September 5th you're going to be in peak fall foliage, but cold fronts like this is what kickstarts the process. So we'll watch, guys. But I'm excited about this cold front. And if you're not excited about it, well, I'm sorry. That's all I can say. But I do want to watch, and I meant to show this before the cold front. There's a tricky flooding threat today. Now, right now, they only have a marginal risk for flash flooding in the northeast. But I do want to watch. This is starting off this morning. There's already rain falling. A lot of rain is going to fall over some of the same areas. We need the rain, but I do want to watch out in southern New England. A little bit of a tricky flooding threat today. Some rainfall could just be sitting over some of the same areas. Could create a lot of standing water. So just be aware. And then here comes Hurricane Erin creeping up on your screen. Rainfall between now and like Friday evening. Couple to a few inches of rain across New England. So be aware of this, guys. That's all I got. Folks, for my regular people who tune in for your daily forecast, I do apologize for not getting that daily forecast in. Once Erin is on out the way, over the next few days, we'll get right back to our regular scheduled program with that. You guys know that. For you folks that's been tuning in for a while, you know that when we're tracking something significant like this, that's this close, we got to just put most of our attention on that. And, of course, most of y'all know, right when I'm done with this video, I immediately take my girls to school and I go to my full-time job. So I cannot extend this to 40 minutes or anything like that. It's already running up to almost 30. So got to cut it short. But trust me, I'm going to get back to you folks. Just hang with me, and we'll start doing it probably by sometime later this week. So God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day. We'll try to do it again this evening. And, yeah, stay safe out there.